This presentation has been organized to provide additional information from the feedback submitted to the board via the website feedback form, since the 2 recommendations from the Boundary Committee were released in early July. Key themes and concerns from that feedback included disruption to family logistics, excessive student transitions and student mental health, multilingual dual academy, the impact on special education and specialized programs, staffing and district budget and operational questions. When looking at these 5 themes, and the first one, disruption to families and logistics, grade level configurations are not an atypical structure for schools. ISB publishes a listing of all districts and schools, public and private, in the state. A link to the list is available on this slide. When the list is filtered for only public schools, pre-K through 12th grade, the result is 3,884 schools in the state. When the list is filtered for public schools containing grades pre-K through 5 in any configuration except for pre-K through 5 or K through 5, but excluding any configuration that includes the 6th grade or higher, 741 schools are listed. This is 19% of all pre-K-12 public schools in the state. Extended time was another question. For extended time, it is our before and after school program offered by the Crystal Lake Park District at our elementary level. They currently offer the program at 7 of our 9 elementary schools. They have partnered Canterbury and Coventry together and South and West together. The program for Canterbury and Coventry is housed at Coventry, and the program for South and West is housed at West. Parents drop off and pick up their child at the building housing the program, and the district shuttles the students to and from the program for school. Additional concerns regarded the transitions and mental health for the students. Grade level centers would add 1 transition for students. However, they would transition as a grade level to the new school. Most students who attend a pre-K program have a natural transition from that program to kindergarten, unless they attend District 47's pre-K program and Glacier is their home school. And as we did with middle school boundary changes, the school will provide opportunities to connect, meet staff, and build a sense of belonging for students and families. If grade level centers are selected, the principals from the paired schools will work closely together to help students and families transition to and from and across the buildings for a cohesive feel. There was a concern about inequality of housing or our neighborhoods. So this slide shows statistics from our 25-26 elementary enrollment in the dual language program, allowing the community to understand who the students are and where they come from to attend the program. Overall, 40% of our elementary dual enrollment is bused from non-dual schools to the 3 dual language schools. These students are already bused and will continue to be bused in either boundary recommendation. Of the remaining 60% of the elementary dual language enrollment, 43% has either Canterbury or Coventry as their home school, and 17% has North as their home school. In its current form, the dual language program has 2 classrooms at each grade level for a total of 12 classrooms per building in 3 of our 9 elementary schools for a total of 36 classrooms. If at full capacity, the dual language program at the elementary level could hold 846 students, kindergarten through 5th grade. Dual language enrollment has been declining proportionately to District 47's overall enrollment decline, which can be viewed on the District 47 website on the demographic dashboard. While we typically see significant enrollment during August up through Labor Day, currently dual language enrollment is projected to be just over 600 students, or approximately 200 students short of capacity. The Multilingual Language Academy recommendation would have room for 5 sections per grade level, or a capacity of 705 students, which would currently house all students enrolled and allow for approximately 100 students of growth in the future. The Multilanguage Academy is a service model and not creating segregation by drawing new boundary lines. There was a question about need for consistency for our special education or specialized programs. If a multilingual academy is chosen for the recommendation, boundaries would continue to be K-5 for all students, not just those in specialized programs. If grade level centers were the chosen recommendation, there would be one additional transition during the elementary grades. However, all students would have that transition and would move from the primary building to the intermediate building, minimizing the loss of peers or friends or neighborhood connections that can be seen in a transitional kindergarten from elementary to middle or middle to high school. Pre-K is a transition for any student coming from a private preschool program or District 47's program, unless their home school is Glacier Ridge. Another question or feedback was about program consolidation. Currently, Aspire, which is a program for students on the autism spectrum, is our only program that is split between two of our elementary buildings, and that is because there is a growing need and population for students in need of that program. No single elementary building can house our Aspire program in total in grades K through 5. The cross-categorical program is being shifted through attrition to Indian Prairie. Woods Creek used to have a communication development program, which was then changed into a cross-categorical program because of the needs of the students. But the demand for that program has been declining in recent years, and so students are only being added in the younger grades at Indian Prairie. And only 5th graders are in the program this year at Woods Creek, and the program will be ended at Woods Creek at the end of this year. And the entire program will only be in one school for the 27-28 school year. There were also questions about the impact and logistics to our staffing, our district budget, and operational questions. When we look at our staff, movement and shifting of staff would be a collaborative effort with CLETA, determined after a decision is made by the Board of Education, as has been happening in the past with any changes or moves. Both recommendations create larger teacher teams, either by grade level or by a focus on dual or mono curriculum and instruction, leading to more support and professional development for the staff, and instruction for students can be more focused at a targeted developmental age and/or language development, leading to improved student outcomes. More classes per grade level provide the opportunity to separate students as needed, which also helps with classroom dynamics. Both recommendations help to establish more equitable class size across grade levels, which is a benefit to teachers as well as students. When we look at our other financial and logistical considerations, we look at our buildings in terms of the playgrounds and the bathrooms. In terms of playgrounds, no significant changes will be needed to the K-5 playgrounds with either recommendation. A pre-K playground, which is part of either recommendation, will be approximately $225,000, which we anticipate can be paid for by using the impact fees that will be received by the district for the developments currently being built. When we look at our bathrooms, only minor adjustments are anticipated if North Elementary were the secondary pre-K site. The estimate for that is approximately $7,500. If the recommendation selected and future projected enrollment didn't allow for North to be the site, additional costs would be incurred by adding bathrooms to accommodate pre-K in a different building. When we continue to look at discrepancies for our enrollment, on the screen are charts that show the discrepancies between our average class size by grade level, on the left in our dual language schools, and on the right across our monolingual classrooms in all 9 buildings. These charts are available on the D47 Boundary Informational webpage under Unbalanced Class Size. When looking at the 2 recommendations, each one allows for class sizes to become more equitable and for the district to run more efficiently. For example, when looking at our dual language staffing, the current model requires 36 classrooms, 2 classrooms per grade level for a total of 12 classrooms in each dual language building, has proven to be the most successful model in terms of having teams to support and help with teacher retention, as well as the ability to have students change between classrooms each year. The projected 26-27 enrollment of 610 students would only require 26 classrooms if all students could be assigned to buildings to equal out class size and enrollment. The Multilingual Language Academy recommendation contains 30 classrooms. This is a reduction in staffing of 6 full-time positions with this recommendation, while still allowing room for growth in the program as mentioned earlier. When looking at our 25-26 staffing of monolingual classrooms, we had 172 monolingual classrooms K-5, with an average class size that varied between 2 and 11 students between grade levels among the schools. Similar to dual language, if students could be assigned to buildings to equal out class size and enrollment with our current guidelines, our 25-26 enrollment would have needed only 130 classrooms. However, we have the opportunity to reduce our average class size across the district and maintain approximately 155 classrooms, which would be a reduction of approximately 17 full-time positions. Final reduction numbers would need to be calculated once the 26-27 enrollment has stabilized and the board has decided on the recommendation. While 17 positions may sound like a lot for an organization District 47's size with almost 650 teachers, the reduction of 17 positions could be handled with typical annual turnover, with retirements and/or resignations, without anyone needing to be released. Additional concerns were requests for data, particularly talking about start and stop times. And if grade level centers were the chosen recommendation, the change of start and stop times would need to be discussed with CLETA prior to any final changes being made. There was also a question regarding historical trends. The most recent CASARTA study was completed in the fall of 2023 in collaboration with District 155 and the other elementary feeders. A presentation on the CASARTA report was presented at the board meeting in January 24 meeting. The presentation is linked on this slide for any interested party. Dr. CASARTA makes predictions for a 10-year period of time. He qualifies the report as more accurate for the first 5 years, but then advises that there could be more variability in years 6 through 10 due to economic, demographic, and other factors. We are currently in year 3 of the most recent study from Dr. CASARTA. There was also a request for building-by-building class size comparisons. These were shown on the previous slide and are posted on the D47 website on the Boundaries informational webpage under the heading Unbalanced Class Size. The May 25 boundary presentation shared with the community shared historic pre-K through 5 enrollment data and pre-K through 5 future enrollment. All past presentations can be found on the Boundary website under Communications. From the feedback, there were also some key recommendations from the community. The first was if grandfathering or a phased rollout could occur. If grade level centers were adopted, grandfathering would not be possible for the buildings changing to primary grade levels. If a multilingual language academy were adopted, grandfathering could happen for all buildings except for current non-dual Coventry students and dual language students because the program would only be offered at Coventry. A second recommendation from the community feedback was to consider a 3-zone feeder model. This feedback suggested utilizing our 3 middle school boundaries and placing a dual language program in each of these 3 boundaries as a way to feed our middle schools and balance enrollment. With 12 classrooms needed to be freed up to support dual in any particular school, we currently don't have that space in any of our buildings. Additionally, 43% of our dual language enrollment lives within the Coventry subdivision that feeds both Coventry and Canterbury. If we move the program from either Canterbury or Coventry to a school on the south side of town, we would be creating bus routes and busing students that currently walk to school. And then capacity of the program versus enrollment. It questions whether or not 3 buildings are needed. 3 buildings might be too many classrooms with teachers with not having enough students, but 2 buildings, we don't get enough classrooms or teachers for the current enrollment. So 30 sections is right-sized for the program currently. And then finally, recommendation 3 was, could we redraw just traditional boundaries? The Boundary Committee looked at and discussed several simple shifts or boundary adjustments. However, barriers have been identified. The close placement of Woods Creek and Glacier Ridge with low enrollment on the south side of town is a barrier. The close placement of Coventry and Canterbury with new developments adding more students to already high enrollment in those buildings is a barrier, as well as where our developments are going in town. The developments are being placed where we already have buildings with higher enrollment. We have significant enrollment located and projected north of Route 14 and east of Route 31, where we have no schools. And then many buildings are centrally located in town, close to Route 14. While Route 14 is a natural transportation barrier, I believe that my comment from the July board meeting was not clear in representing the full picture of why a recommendation wasn't brought forward with moving students to the southern schools by busing students across Route 14. During the middle school boundary process, the district and board received strong feedback that families did not want to be moved from being walkers to a school to being bused to another school. People also didn't want to move from a school that they could see or easily get to being bused to a school that was farther away. It is the combination of Route 14 being a hazardous walkway, along with Hussman and North being located on the southernmost portion of their boundary areas, close to Route 14, with the neighborhoods around each of those schools being walkers to the school, that stopped the Boundary Committee from drawing up a recommendation that would have bused kids across Route 14 to South or West School. These two maps demonstrate student enrollment using our current boundaries before and after completion of the 11 developments currently proposed and or being built. Each map uses the same criteria to show enrollment and capacity. Green indicates a school that has 10% or more capacity available. Yellow indicates a school that has between 5 and 10% of their capacity available. And red indicates a school that either has less than 5%, is at or over capacity. The map on the left shows what our 25-26 enrollment capacity looks like with our current boundaries. South, Woods Creek, and Glacier are all in the green, showing that they have 10% or greater capacity for increased enrollment. West, Hussman, and North are yellow, indicating that they are between 5 and 10% of capacity. And finally, Canterbury, Coventry, and Indian Prairie are within 5% of or at their capacity. The map on the right shows what our 25-26 enrollment capacity looks like with our current boundaries and all current developments completed. The developments are denoted on the map with a blue circle. With no change to the boundaries, South, Woods Creek, and Glacier remain in the green, maintaining 10% or greater capacity, while West, North, and Hussman switch to red with Canterbury, Coventry, and Indian Prairie, meaning that 6 of our 9 elementary buildings would be at or over their capacity. These interactive maps are also available on our website to give you a better view. There has been feedback submitted to the board via the feedback form on the website asking for a straight change to boundary lines as an option instead of the 2 recommendations brought forward. These maps show that 3 of our schools continue to be under capacity by 10% or more even after the developments are completed, while the remaining 6 buildings go to or become over capacity without a change. 2 of the 3 buildings remaining under capacity are 2 of our largest, Woods Creek and Glacier Ridge, and they are within a half a mile of each other. Shifting boundary lines slightly among the 9 current elementary schools does not move enough students to the south side of town without taking students who can walk to one school and start busing them to a different school further away, eliminating neighborhood schools for several of our schools, disrupting the K-12 path created by the middle school boundary changes, or creating more equitable class size. There has been some feedback about why a boundary change is needed and or why can't a boundary change wait. There are several different ways in which this can be viewed. If we look at the impact to our students, inequitable class size leads to different educational experiences and opportunities. Currently, once a grade level at a school has reached enrollment capacity, enrollment for that grade level is closed, and any future enrollments are moved to a school with the lowest enrollment for that grade level, and transportation is provided for the student since it was the district's change in the school of attendance for that child. The current structure of the dual language program caps classrooms per grade level for both monolingual classrooms and dual language enrollment. This limits the number of classrooms available for separating students over the 6 years that they would attend elementary school. This can impact classroom dynamics and student learning. And our current singular pre-K site creates up to an hour bus ride to and from school for some of our youngest learners. What are some impacts to the organization? Inequitable class size leads to varied workloads and expectations for our staff. Additional bus routes are needed to transport the students moved from their home school to another school of attendance when a grade level is closed at one building by reaching capacity. An unbalanced enrollment and or inefficient use of facilities leads to increased operating expenses, leaving fewer resources available to recruit and retain our staff. Finally, if we look at the impact to our programming, unbalanced enrollment doesn't allow for the spacing out of or placement of our special ed programs across the district. The current structure of the dual language program is for 2 classrooms per grade level per building housing the program for a total of 36 classrooms. Trend enrollment over the past 4 years and projected enrollment for the 26-27 school year does not require 36 classrooms. Having only one pre-K location at the southernmost point of our boundaries creates increased transportation costs for lengthy bus routes and utilizes our buses for extended periods of time during peak times for elementary arrival and dismissal, making them unavailable for other routes. In conclusion, I'd like to bring back the two recommendations brought forward from the Boundary Committee and share how they do address many, if not all, of the concerns that the district currently faces that were established as goals for the committee to address. Recommendation 1 creates grade level centers. This recommendation balances class size between the paired schools, but does not balance class size across the district because students are not moved into the southern school's existing boundaries. This recommendation allows for our schools to absorb projected enrollment from the currently known developments without going over capacity. However, it does take several buildings to capacity while leaving several buildings within 10% or more capacity available. This recommendation may not allow for a second pre-K location without an increased cost if North cannot be the designated site. North has bathrooms in more classrooms than any other building, reducing the cost of a second pre-K site to only modifications to already existing bathrooms. In this recommendation, because students aren't shifted from the northern boundaries to the southern boundaries, special education self-contained programs would need to remain concentrated in our southern schools. Recommendation number 2 is a boundary shift among 8 of our schools and creates a multilingual language academy. This recommendation balances class size between schools and across the district. The recommendation redraws the boundaries between 8 schools, moving students south. The recommendation allows for a second pre-K site in the northern part of our boundaries. The recommendation allows for the dual language program to be strengthened for both staff and students by being located in one location, K through 5. And the recommendation allows for the possibility of relocating a special education, self-contained program to a school on the north side or center of town. Thank you for taking the time to listen and learn more about the 2 boundary recommendations. We appreciate your feedback and continue to read through all of the comments and questions that are submitted. This feedback helps inform future presentations and the additional information that may need to be shared. Please continue to use the feedback form on the website at d47.org/boundaries.